Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Bonus file written by SeriousAboutThisCrap. Secrets of saving my daughter from a door monster. This happened several years ago. My daughter was about 8 years old at the time. I was 29, male. I woke up early this morning, 1 or 2 a.m. At first, I didn't think much of it. I peacefully woke up, kinda just looked at the ceiling for a minute, and then turned my head towards the bedroom door. I could see the next light in my daughter's room slowly, softly, change from one color to the next. It lit up the hallway. The phases from one color to the next lasted only a few seconds. Yellow, blue, green, then red. I always thought the red was a bit dark, a blood red. I watched it go through the cycle a couple times. It turns red one last time. I don't think much of it until it doesn't change. It stays red. I think to myself, what the hell? But I just wait thinking eventually it'll change. It doesn't. At this point, enough time has passed and I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on? So I decided to go check it out. But I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. It seemed like the more I struggled, the harder it was to move. The panic started to creep in, and with every second that passed, the more panicked I became. Then, my daughter let out this horrible scream. The kind of scream you never want to hear, let alone from your own child. It was horrifying. I knew something terrible was happening to her, but the more I tried to move, the harder it became. I was freaking out. It went silent. Still, I'm struggling to get out of bed. A few seconds went by, then another blood-curdling scream. Suddenly, I was released and sprang out of the bed, only to face plant on the ground. My legs didn't work. I couldn't feel my legs at all, but I had to save my daughter. So entirely naked, I started to crawl to my daughter's room, ready to kill whatever was causing her harm. She let out one last scream as I approached the door to her room. I mustered the strength to stand up and flip the lights on. "What? Are you okay? What?" She's in the corner of her room, curled up, the look of pure fright on her face. She ran to me and jumped in my arms. That crap scared the hell out of me. Once she calmed down, she told me she woke up and was just laying there, watching her light change colors. Then it changed to red and stopped. She started to get scared and was going to come to my room, but then her bedroom door turned into a large mouth with sharp teeth and started coming toward her and chomping up and down. Just before it got to her, I turned the light on and saved her. What the hell? How is this possible? I have sleep paralysis the exact same time my daughter had a night terror, and they seemingly were connected. Or was this paranormal? Case file number 463, written by 420 BPM, Secrets of a Transdimensional Slide. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I went with my parents to a big hardware/gardening store. Those living in Europe probably know which one I'm talking about. And since they had to spend some time choosing tiles and other things, they put me in this ball pit with slides and jumping beds that was full of other kids. I remember seeing kids getting into the slide holes and then appearing in the ball pit. I wanted to do the same, so I chose one slide, but that slide didn't take me to the ball pit. Instead, I ended up in an empty cube made of plastic that was big enough for me to stand up in. I remember I could see people on the street through the thick plastic wall, but it was all blurred. I also remember thinking that maybe that part of the playground was still under construction, but why would that slide be open then? Also, how could I be the only kid there? Surely another kid could have used the same slide, but there I was alone, and I waited for 10 to 15 minutes there before trying to climb up the slide. I don't remember how, but in the end I came out of the cube and waited until my parents were done shopping. They picked me up and we went home. I'm 29 now and never mentioned any of this to them. Case note, file number 463. This is reminding me of those playpens in McDonald's. I used to go in those all the time as a kid. I remember begging my mom to let me go play in the slides, even though I was pretty young at the time. I guess that's what they're there for, but my mom was always nervous I'd hurt myself. Moms. You know what they're like. For your glitch, it's curious. This reminds me of another story where it was a water park and there was a worker at the top of a slide. You know, the ones you actually have to walk upstairs to get to? Anyway, he sends a kid down the slide, and that kid never comes out of the end. Not for like 10 minutes. And he even sent other kids through because he just thought, oh, he must have come out and I didn't notice him. But no, the kid does eventually come out 10 minutes later after he sent other kids through, which would be impossible. Obviously, they would get stuck. So in your case, maybe you were the one that vanished to other people, although no one noticed because they were just kids, so they weren't paying attention. And then you just climb back out into your universe. I would say maybe it's just a coincidence, but 10 to 15 minutes in the same play area as other kids, well, there's no way that only you would pick that slide. Case file number 464, written by Wet Pirate Plunder Pictures, Secrets of Mortality, and a Giant Woman. I think I should attempt to define what an ultra-terrestrial is. In theory, since many people may not have heard the term, multi-dimensional entity. Similar to the idea of an eternal soul, not bound to space and time or to the physical plane which humans currently inhabit. The extent of ultra-terrestrial behaviors and motives are unknown, but they are likely diverse, just as any other intelligent life forms are, so they do not function as a perfect collective. The first time I believe I encountered an ultra-terrestrial was in 2013, when I was extremely sick. I was at home and dealing with a very serious disease that kills 30% of its hosts. At the height of my sickness, I thought for sure I was going to die, and was struggling to come to terms with it. I was in bed, sweating, finding it difficult to breathe, and had shooting pains throughout my entire body. My heartbeat felt completely off, going from pounding to fluttering to skipping beats at random times. I was terrified, almost literally to death. It was at that point that I witnessed, or hallucinated, a dark, shadowy figure step out of my closet. It looked like the Grim Reaper, the Angel of Death almost. I pleaded, "Please, don't let me die. I have more to accomplish here. I'm not ready to go yet." The shadowy figure slowly backed away into the closet, and I uncomfortably began to drift off to sleep. As I fell asleep, I remember thinking, I want to talk to a god. I need answers. The next thing I remember is I had the most incredibly vivid dream, which at the time didn't seem like a dream at all. It seemed like I had been transported somewhere, because I was completely lucid and fully aware. I was in an infinite space that was a color tan. All around me was tan, like the color of sand. There was a gigantic woman floating in front of me, and I was about the size of one of her fingers. She is just floating there, amazingly beautiful. She had a flowing dress and dark reddish hair. The first thing I said was, "Am I going to die? What happens when we die?" She responded, "Death is a construct. Death does not exist. It is a made-up human concept." At this point, you're probably thinking, okay, this guy is obviously sick and hallucinating, so this can't be an ultra-terrestrial encounter, and that is a perfectly reasonable thought. I don't claim that this encounter was definitely real, how could I? But at the time, it felt very real, and it felt like I was talking to a very real entity. It did not feel like a dream or a scene that was created by my mind. This woman, or entity, continued to tell me that I have lived thousands of lives, and she even showed me first-person point-of-view experiences that I have had as different animals and people. We talked and talked for what felt like almost days, and she explained to me how reincarnation works. Keep in mind, at the time, I was not spiritual or versed in the idea of reincarnation at all. This was a completely foreign concept to me at the time, and if you had asked me in 2013 if I believed in this stuff, I would say heck no. She said that each of our physical lives is double the length of time of the life we had previously, but that time is not what we would think of on Earth, but another form of universal time. So the length of time you spend in your current life may be shorter in years than your past life, but that doesn't mean it's shorter in this universal form of time. She explained that because I am human currently, I will not be able to understand most of these concepts, but that she had presented herself in a human form to explain these details to me. When I woke up the next morning, I felt completely weak. My heart was beating very faintly, but steadily. I literally felt like I had died and been reborn. When I moved my body, it felt like it had been days since I last used it. But the fear of death I had was completely gone. I would compare my headspace to what you might feel after a psychedelic trip. All of my negative feelings were completely gone, and I felt so grateful. I made a promise to the universe that I would not waste this precious time I had on Earth, and I wouldn't live my existence in fear. Long story short, this interaction with this entity changed my reality in a great way. I have become so much more positive and open to all types of ideas. I truly feel as though I was given a gift. Since 2013, I often witness what I believe are other entities in my bedroom, but they are not malicious at all. It's almost like they're helping me, sending me information or something. And I know that sounds batshit crazy, but I can literally see them and feel them when I wake up sometimes. I would say at least 6 or 7 times a month, I will wake up in my bed and will see an ultra-terrestrial hanging out in my room. They look really interesting, like abstract shapes. They are never in any animal or human form. The reason I believe they are ultra-terrestrials and not hallucinations is how they seem to react to me waking up. I will see them and they immediately start to change forms and usually exit through the wall, or sometimes they will fly right out of the window. There may be good ultra-terrestrials and there may be bad ones, but to make a distinction may be extremely difficult because they are so incredibly advanced in their evolution and they fully understand that death itself is an illusion, my belief. We as humans are made not fully capable of seeing this limitless, multi-dimensional reality as it exists, and are much more attuned to mortality-based fear and the biological survival mechanisms of our animal forms. What we see as bad is largely based on our idea that death is very real and very much the end, which is not true in my opinion.